Welcome, everyone, and thank you for listening to another episode of For What It's Worth. I'm your host, Chris Conforti, and with me, as always, my good friend, Mr. Mike Price. MP, what's the good word, man?
What's going on, buddy? Seems like it's snowing outside, huh?
Well, the weather outside is weather. No, man, yeah, not too much. It was definitely a tough trek home, thanks to the Juno lady, but definitely happy to be on the airwaves right now, or whatever you want to call this.
Yeah, dude, I honestly had no idea it was supposed to snow up until like a day or two ago. I was just like, like it's mid-January, maybe we're gonna dodge a couple bullets here, and then like everyone was like, yeah, the world is going to end. I was like, what are you guys talking about? And
Yeah.
then like obviously like I checked my like weather app on my phone, and then like for some reason went to weather.com, which I normally don't do. I sort of just like whenever it's like raining out, I'm like, oh, the bodega next to my apartment. I should probably buy an umbrella because I'm the only guy in line usually without one. So it's yeah, obviously it just started. We're in the wee hours of it, but it's supposed to get pretty bad. So
Yeah, I mean, it was a little nasty coming home. My train was very packed. I was like a sardine. I mean, fortunately, I had a seat, but I don't know. I get a little claustrophobic when there's about 50 people more than usual, and they're all breathing on you, and I don't know. It's just like awkward. So, but I made it alive, and like I said, now we're on to bigger and better things tonight, and little work from home tomorrow. So we'll touch on that a little bit later. So like I said, well, actually, I didn't say it yet, but lots of topics to discuss. Obviously, we got to touch Deflategate a little bit more. I feel like that's in order. It's just it won't go away. Then we'll talk a little bit about our predictions for the Super Bowl. Some other NFL news: Josh Gordon being banned and suspended for another year, which is pretty comical. Um, and then we're gonna leave football a little bit, talk about this Reddit post that you showed to me earlier. It's totally depressing topic. I don't even want to touch any of it right now. But like I said, I'll wait till we get there, and then finally we'll end off with something happy, and that's what's happening tomorrow, a snow day. So what I thought would be cool is if we compare snow days from our childhood and in college and our youth to present day. Now us as being quote unquote adults, which definitely not. I'm the most immature adult probably on this earth, and you're probably right there with me. So, um,
what are you talking about? It's 1A and 1B. Let's be serious here. And that changes from week to week, day to day, hour by
pretty
hour.
much just the most obscene, worst people ever, born on this earth. So, without further ado, before we go on a side convo, which we probably are easily capable of, Deflategate. So, how I figured we'd break this out is make all of our listeners, all three of them, make them known of what we know. So that is 11 of the 12 footballs were at, I believe, 11 or 11 and a half ounces. The league minimum is 12 and a half, which also happens to be Tom Brady's strictly preferred, whatever, PSI, pressure, whatever you want to call it. Brady and Belichick both strongly denied any knowledge in this, into why the footballs were the way they were. The Patriots actually made a claim and created a study that there's a loss of PSI from the locker room to the field. Given the Earth's elements and pressure changes, what have you, which I find to be total bullcrap. Now things are getting out of hand. You got guys like Bill Nye, the science guy, getting involved. I don't know if you heard with that, stating that what they're saying is impossible, and even the company that manufactures the footballs is calling BS on that. And I feel like with all this said, it's taken away what we could be talking about. The week leading up to the Super Bowl, or the 2 weeks. A week of it was already taken away, and they're still talking about it. And that's the game itself, which on paper could be one of the best. I know we were saying that last year with the Broncos, and that obviously turned out not to be too much of a contest. But, point is, whether or not they're purposely, put them at 11.5 or whatever, I don't think it would have changed the outcome of that game. I know we both agree on that. But for certain, I feel like insults the integrity of the game. This is obviously the second strike against the Patriots, Spygate being the one other. And, should they just suffer consequences? I think yes, just because Brady and Belichick are the greatest of all time, it doesn't mean they get a free pass. I don't know. How do you feel about that?
So let me just say that, the 2014 NFL season, it started off in controversy and it's going to end with controversy. Okay? So we started off with Ray Rice, domestic violence, Wes Welker taking Molly at the Kentucky Derby, Josh Gordon, driving, in North Carolina high as can be, and then Adrian Peterson just beating his kid to a pulp. It's been a very, very odd NFL season. I think it's been dominated with off the field issues, which is very, very annoying and concerning to me for the future and the longevity of this sport in general. Because as you know, football is my main sport. And I think this year I was so disinterested, not only because the Jets played like a D1 double A school, but just that the headlines in general were just about all these off the field issues. And it really was reminiscent of the steroid era that we talked about in baseball. But in terms of this Deflategate, there's been a couple mentions that the NFL had some pre-existing knowledge about the Patriots potentially altering the footballs prior to the start of the game. And to me, that's a little concerning and questions the legitimacy of Roger Goodell as the commissioner. As we discussed, offline, Goodell is appointed by the commissioners. And the fact that Robert Kraft and Goodell are very good buds, it's very, very concerning to me and has a cloud over it in terms of, what type of penalty is going to be put down on them. Just today, there's been some smoking gun that there was a ball boy seen on camera at halftime taking the balls into another room and then coming out to the field. So I think there's definitely going to be more to come on this. With that said, I think the overriding thing here is that we've always been like conditioned to hear about the Patriot way, and Belichick and Brady came out and said nothing. We had nothing to do with this. It's the elements, like you said before. Bill Nye came out and said this is very, very reasonable in terms of what the conditions were up in Foxborough. But I think it really does speak to that there is something behind this, is that they are going to look for that competitive advantage. They've demonstrated this in the past with Spygate. So to me, there's still something to be said about what they're doing and what they're and what we don't even know. That there could be other things, not just altering the football. I mean, they could be listening in on offensive, defensive coordinator plays. So I think there's definitely more to come on this story.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you as usual. We need to probably find some points that we don't agree on, but that's a separate conversation. Going back to what you were saying with the Patriot way and everything like that, I don't even know how to put this into words, but it's like almost like so like sleazy, like, oh, the Patriots way. It's like, let's gather up everybody behind us, all our fans and supporters, and let's just kind of like cheat our way through it and keep everybody happy. Like, I don't know, it just like if that was the Jets, if I knew the Jets were notorious for trying to gain the upper hand and just doing stuff like that, which I'm sure they do. It's just not in the news. I mean, the Jets are in the news for totally separate issues. I mean, we talked about this offline. The Jets are in the news and they're hated and they suck, which is horrible for us because, we get ridiculed on a daily basis. Everybody hates the Patriots because they're good. I mean, why they're good is a totally separate conversation. You know, I think they're still a great football team, even if the football is, you know, the appropriate measurements that it should be, and even without, you know, having, you know, a camera filming a team, or, you know, having an ear in, like, I still think they have the personnel and the coaching there. But yes, obviously that helps a little bit when, you know something, or you're doing something that you're not supposed to be doing. And I mean, that's obviously the problem, and they need to get, you know, down to the bottom of it. Otherwise there's going to be, you know, existing problems moving forward. So I mean, as far as a consequence is concerned, I mean, like you were saying, I still think there's a lot to be investigated. I don't know if they'll come to a decision before Super Bowl this weekend. I just, you know, we're running out of time. I mean, it's Monday. We got 6 days till we get there.
Right. I mean, and from a PR perspective, they're not going to put down any penalty to take away from the game. So
Yeah,
this
I
is
agree.
this is definitely going to come after. And like I said before, the fact of the matter is Robert Kraft and Roger Goodell are good buds. So uh, there there's definitely something there. And you know, the fact of the matter is, like, Marshawn Lynch can't wear gold cleats, but Tom Brady can tell some slapdick ball boy to fucking take out a little bit of air from a football. It's just, yeah, it's just so frustrating on a lot of different levels. It's, as a Jet fan, yeah, obviously we're jealous, and you know, we want to see our team win, but it just speaks to a culture, and it also speaks to ethics. And you know what, the game should be decided on the field. Like, it's the same thing like with George Brett and Sammy Sosa with pine tar. Like, you cannot alter the, you know, whatever you're using to win. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I think that in itself is the definition of cheating.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked about this, you know, numerous times before, and like, this is something that I want to phrase to you too. And I don't know if you said this to me or if I heard it elsewhere, but I feel like if you're not cheating to win, then you're really not trying to win. Like, you know, there's going about it the right way and working hard and everything like that, but you know, there's teams, and you know, there's guys that are doing everything, you know, to get that ring, or, you know, if they're trying to do something on a personal level, like get a contract extension. You know, these guys, a majority of them, probably 75 to 85% of them, are doing whatever it takes, whether that means, you know, taking HGH or taking steroids, or, you know, taking a little air out of the ball, or putting a little bit more air, you know, whatever the hell that, you know, to do to give yourself somewhat of an advantage. And I mean, I feel like that, you know, winning and the almighty dollar fuels a lot of guys in professional sports. And, you know, there's a lot more that, you know, we're not privy to, and we don't know about, because it's under wraps, it's under the league. You know, the league is trying to save themselves here too. They want this to remain as hush hush and as possible. They don't want to leak out all this information and, you know, get people, you know, ticked off, because, you know, the last thing they want, you know, is to lose people watching and lose money and everything like that. And, I mean, that's definitely plausible and definitely possible if, you know, these issues continue to happen on a consistent basis. So I mean, we'll pay close attention to this as, you know, time moves on, but, you know, we're not expecting to hear anything prior to the game or see any penalties or consequences take place before Sunday. So, but
Yeah,
before,
honestly, the best penalty or the best outcome of this is that the Seahawks just lay the wood to the Patriots.
yeah, that would be the best, you know, thing that any either Patriot hater or Seahawks fan or whatever. I mean, I feel like, you know, we're not alone in saying that we're you know, the only ones that want the Seahawks to give it to the Patriots good. I feel like a lot of this country and perhaps even the world just want to see just total annihilation. I mean, I don't think it'll happen. I think it'll be a good game, but I mean, that would be something. So before we escape this topic on, you know, breaking the rules or violations, Josh Gordon yesterday just can't seem to stay straight, whether it's weed or alcohol or whatever. So he ended up failing an alcohol test, which I guess is technically still considered a drug, that was put in place for him as a part of his probation or rehab or something like that. He wasn't allowed to drink either. So he was now I really think he's going to be suspended for the year. And regardless of what any kind of appeal he has or anything like that. What do you think's going on with that? And do you think there's more to it than just the on the field or off the field stuff? Do you think I know you feel very strongly about it being, weed in specific being legalized in other states, but some of these guys are playing in those states and they're still not allowed to smoke, and all that kind of stuff. I know that this is kind of your topic here.
Yeah, I mean, welcome to the Toronto Argonauts, Josh. Like, welcome to the CFL. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, the guy has all the talent in the world, but unfortunately, this is his second or third offense with drug and alcohol abuse, and I guess your employer has that ability to put down that type of punishment. So for me, it's a shame because of the production that he's put on the field and what he's been able to do, and it's a real shame. But to your point earlier, it's like if we're gonna make laws that are made by our elected officials, then it should apply to employees under those jurisdictions.
Right. So you're saying, like, take the Colorado Rockies, for example, the baseball team, and Troy Tulowitzki. If there's a rule or a law within the MLB that players are not allowed to smoke marijuana, like, you're not for that, considering the state of Colorado, technically, right? Colorado's a state. I'm not going insane, right? My geography's still good.
Yeah, it's on the way to the Oregon Trail. Yeah, you're right.
So, I mean, that's what you're saying, right? Like, he should technically be able to bypass that rule in MLB, considering he's residing in Denver or wherever they play in the state of Colorado. Yes. Mike.
Yeah, we had a little technical difficulties here. It's probably
All
this fucking Juno bitch
right.
just jamming up my world. I didn't hear what you said. Can you give me a little
All right.
synopsis of the
Yeah,
past
yeah,
30
yeah.
seconds that I missed?
No problem. So I said Troy Tulowitzki, baseball player for the Colorado Rockies. Obviously, in that state, you can now legally smoke marijuana. So if there's a written rule in the MLB saying, hey, you're not allowed to do this, should that he be able to bypass that given the state that he's residing in? So, like, in other words, if he's there in Colorado and he's smoking it up or whatever, like, and he gets pulled over, or I don't know what the rules are entirely, but
Yes, he pays taxes in that state. He should do as he pleases in what's written in the law. If that's a law that's passed by his, elected official, he's a constituent, then yes, he should be able to do whatever he pleases within that domain.
sure, yeah. I mean, I could see the both sides of it because you have that point which you just gave, but then these guys are sometimes held to a different standard given their stature, and they're supposed to be, even though they're not, role models to kids growing up, and you hear about all this stuff, or who's drinking what, who's smoking what, who beat their wife, who raped who. Like, there's just like a lot of stuff under these guys' nails, and I don't know. It's tough. Like, I understand what the league is trying to do to keep their brand as clean as possible, and it's kind of, I guess, conflicting with the rules of our country as a whole. So, I mean, I don't really know where.
No, it's definitely a bit.
No, go
It's a
ahead.
bigger issue for sure, but it's a bigger issue for sure. But you know what? Under that state, in the hypothetical that you just gave, he's acting within his legal boundaries.
Yep. Yeah. No,
So
it's true.
I don't care who you work for, what employer you have, what they're trying to impose on you. He's acting within his legal rights. So it's it. I mean, I guess the Josh Gordon situation, it varies from state to state. But guess what? You give someone a 22-year-old a couple $1 million. Guess what? He's gonna have fun, just like Johnny Manziel, Rob Gronkowski, all these guys. Guess what? I make that much money. I'm gonna go have fun. If you put me in that situation, guess what? I'm gonna go to Vegas.
Are you sure about that?
Do this. Do the same exact thing.
Swim up blackjack?
Swim up blackjack.
Just blisters on your shoulder. Sun blisters on your shoulder. Oh man. So yeah, I mean,
there's no right or wrong here, but I think the takeaway is that he should not be given a 1-year suspension. That's to what I've said before. Schefter said that since he was already suspended, 12 games this year, it's not going to even count as a full year. So he might not play football until 2017.
Wow.
In the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, I fully expect him to explore other opportunities. Like you brought up the CFL. I mean, it's a shame because he is such a good talent, but that's just to quote Jim Carrey in what's that movie? Bruce Almighty. That's just the way the cookie crumbles.
That's from Bruce Almighty.
Yeah. Well, I think there was like an actual real reporter like back in the day, Walter Cronkite, if that's a real person. But so in that movie, he he's a weatherman or whatever, an anchor, reporter wanting to be anchor, and that was like his tagline, whatever. The Walter Cronkite guy. I don't know. Not to go on too much of a random tangent, but so yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he pursues any kind of appeal or anything like that. I'm sure there'll be more news about it moving forward in the off season. So
yeah, and back to what we alluded to before. I mean, this season started off with a scandal. Ray Rice was suspended for a year. Wes Welker was suspended for the year, and then they made some sort of backroom deal. So who knows what he's going to get. I just think that based on what we discussed, obviously, for the past 15 minutes, that like there might be something more to it, and that in the NFL's best interest, they shouldn't be getting rid of talent. And, Josh Gordon's obviously a household name and a premium wide receiver. It's just unfortunate that, they're going to try to not sabotage, but sort of derail his career.
Yeah. Getting back on the field actually not even back on because we haven't even talked about anything really on field besides the couple of sentences about, the Patriots and the Deflategate. Who do you have this weekend? Do you think all of this, bad press on the Patriots affects them in any way? Do you think the Seahawks can capitalize off of that? Or, is Brady, would this be his 4th Super Bowl victory in six tries or 3? I don't know exactly what it is, but
Yeah, I'm very, very torn on it. In the 2 losses that the Patriots have in their past 5 Super Bowls, it's been combined 7 points. So I think the real matchup here is how Cam Chancellor plays against Rob Gronkowski and how they put Gronk in, because Richard Sherman is going to shut down Brandon LaFell and any other wide receiver that they put up against him. I don't care if he's playing with 1 arm. I don't care if he's playing with 2 arms. I think Rob Gronk is really going to be the X factor here. So depending on that matchup, as well as the ability for the Pats to stop Marshawn Lynch, is really going to dictate the pace and the flow of this game. So I see this being low scoring, to be honest with you. I see this being within the 20s, maybe even lower than that.
Yeah.
With that said, my heart is really with the Seahawks, but my gut, unfortunately, is going to be with the Patriots, and I see them walking away with another ring, unfortunately.
It's funny because I watched today one of those Madden simulation things on, I can't remember what site it was, and it had the Patriots winning 28-24, and it just sounds so right. And based on the layout of the game. They had the Patriots up early, then the Seahawks came back with a vengeance, and I think they took a 24-10 lead, or 24. I don't remember what it was exactly, but then it was the final drive. The Patriots needed a touchdown, and they ended up getting in the end zone. I mean, I don't expect it to be as climactic as that, but like a touchdown within the last minute or something. But I mean, I think there's going to be a final drive. I think Brady's going to have his hands on his deflated ball and march down there and maybe what's the Patriots kicker, Gostowski or whatever his name is, maybe he has an attempt to seal the deal, seal the Seahawks fate. But yeah, I'm exactly in the same situation. I'm going to be rooting. I might even go to the store and buy like a fucking Seahawks jersey or something to give them extra luck. But
you gotta figure the Seahawks are on house money right now. They're not even supposed to be in this game.
No, I mean the way they won that last game. I mean, we talked about that last week, and it was just a gift from God.
Right. I hope they can pull it out. I really do.
I hope I'm wrong.
It's going to be, as obviously diehard Jet fans, like it really would complete the year for us with the Patriots winning.
Yes.
It would be a very, very nice gesture if the Seahawks can pull it out. But with the way the Patriots are playing, and the way that defense is playing, I think they're going to be able to pull out a W, unfortunately.
Yep, I'm right there with you. So, I mean, I like I said, I hope I'm wrong. I really do, because that's the last thing I want to see. And I will certainly shut it off before the post game, presentation and everything. I'll turn it off and I'll put on an episode of Sopranos or something, which I've been binge watching my brains out on. I won't be able to watch that at all. I can't deal with it. So shifting.
I gotta get another glass of wine. Hold on a second.
Oh no, leaving me on air all alone right now.
No.
Oh, all
keep
right.
talking. I'm just gonna fill up.
Oh, all right. Fill it up like Uncle Frank. So on a completely.
Is that real? Is that real?
On a completely different, we haven't really spoken on anything other than sports on this, and our next two topics are going to be, in just that, like something that's not to do with sports. So there was this interesting timeline today that you showed me on Reddit where it had some guy pretty much just going, by the clock, and we don't know if this is real or just a talented writer going by the clock. He thought or suspected his wife of cheating on him. He paid a private investigator to go tail her. She went out with her sister or someone, some relative or something, ended up getting some kind of video, photographic evidence and whatnot. And, I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. Reading it, took like about 20 or 30 minutes, but I don't know, like, where do you sit on that? I mean, and maybe you could provide our listeners a little bit more information. I know I didn't do that great of a job explaining it.
Yeah, so I had heard about this story through another podcast, actually, and this morning, obviously, I wasn't doing work, so I was like, I'm not actually a big Reddit guy, but I was like, I want to really track down this story and see what they're talking about. They're like, they provided a little background information, and it was like, it's a very solid read. And based on the article that I found, it was, like a snapshot of the live updates, which you alluded to before. And basically, it, had this guy who was married to his wife for 8 years. Everything seemed to be good. He made a lot of money. They were both, pretty good looking. There wasn't any, catch there in terms of, like someone like being a gold digger or whatever. So one night, I guess he decides to, he started to get a little suspect in terms of like her behavior and her mannerism. So he decides to look through her phone. And to his surprise, he sees someone named Zach. And there's some very, very questionable text in there. There's also some photographs that are very, very
Revealing.
revealing. Yes, that's probably the best word.
It's a
I don't.
clean word.
Yes, revealing. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But it goes on to this, long saga in terms of him playing it cool, and also he's incentivized to not call her out because I guess there's a prenup in there, which I had to go look up because I don't even know what the fuck that means, being a fucking single bachelor. I'm like, maybe I should, if I ever get married, maybe I should look at what a prenup means. But so it's this weekend-long saga where which Chris pointed out before, he hires a private investigator. He follows his wife and his sister-in-law and continues to live update throughout the weekend. It goes on, for, like I said, a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and throughout it, you're just captivated in terms of like what's going on, what's going to happen next, and it was very, very serial-like. And I guess I'll let you speak to the conclusion because we had some differences in terms of whether it was real or fake and the timeline of it, but it was just very, very interesting how he was able to live blog it and also remain so calm and collective.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of if it was real or not, let's preface it with that. It was definitely very entertaining and something that I would maybe even consider reading if, I read, a plot to a novel or something. I like books that make me think, and I kind of feel like I'm a part of the action. But as far as how it would, maybe, how whether or not I thought it was real or not, I'm still not entirely sure. I just found a couple of things to be a little bit off kilter. Like, he was like, oh, all right, I'm going to fill you in as soon as I finish eating. And then it was like 7 minutes later, and he was like, oh, I just finished eating. And, I mean, I eat fast too, but I don't know. He just seemed way too chipper and, just too excited to get it out there. Meanwhile, I would have been, first off, how I would be acting wouldn't really show how I felt inside if that was happening to me. I would be so hurt and upset inside if that was happening. I wouldn't whether to shit or go blind, or jump out my window, run in front of an 18-wheeler. I wouldn't know what to do. But with that said, I would compose myself, but also be like the angriest dude on the face of the earth, just wanting to kill somebody. And I would have been I wouldn't be paying for a private investigator. I'd be out there by myself. I'd be trying to find anything I could do because I know that no matter what I would be doing, that would be clogging up my mind so badly. And I wouldn't, like I said, I wouldn't know what to do there. And the fact that he remains so calm and cool, like, is a testament to him if it's true. Because, like I said, that's totally not my MO. I mean, I would have been flying off the handle. When she comes home, he tries to remain cool, and then it kind of gets out of control. I would have been blowing up her spot. I wouldn't have. I don't know. It's such a hypothetical. It's tough to say.
I mean, he opened it up with saying, "I make over $200K a year."
so he has the exact opposite of a problem.
Yeah. So we have to figure that his checking account is looking a lot better than mine.
Yeah, and mine.
I'm struggling for lunch during the week, where that guy is not. So
the mood on.
Yeah, obviously. Speaking of which, fucking guy took forever today. But anyways, I mean, you got to figure there's a lot of money on the line there. So when you're married to someone for 8 years, and we talked about the movie Gone Girl, which I strongly advise you to watch. It's a David Fincher movie, and it's got a very, very cool plot. There's a lot of twists, there's a lot of turns, and it really just kind of mind fucks you.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this post really just speaks to possibly, like a generational thing in terms of, like all these apps with Tinder and JSwipe and Hinge and all these things that, tempt you. It just, you know, it's just something that, us as humans, like, we want that attention, we want notoriety, we want to be, recognized. I don't know. Like, do you think that plays a part in it? Like, how do you, like, I guess he didn't really give a good background on what his marriage was. He said it was, 8 years of happiness, but then suddenly one day he's just like, oh, I'm just gonna decide to read her text. So I think possibly a fallacy there in terms of, creating a very good narrative, but it was sort of too, I don't know, it was sort of too wordy, I guess,
Yeah,
to really question it. I'm not really sure.
yeah. I mean, I definitely agree with it being a generational thing. I mean, you look at everything we have at at our disposal. I mean, everything's right in front of us. Everything's on this little electronic device here. We could do anything. We can order food and have it delivered. We can, you know, manage our fantasy football teams. We can see what our friends are doing. We can try to meet people through like the dating things and Tinder and all that kind of stuff. We can see what the weather is outside. There's so many different things that we could do, and it's just that's just the way it is today. And I mean, I am much more of a simplistic guy, so it is a little like I don't want to say like troubling to see that, because I mean I'm happy to have it, but I'm just the fact that everybody relies on it all the time is a little bit, that's more so my concern with it. But not to drift too far away from what the issue is and what we were talking about. Um,
Yeah, we're not going to give any spoilers here, but basically the guy's name, I think he deleted it because he said it was a throwaway account, so I'm not sure where it's live, but you could easily get the transcription, and it was called My Life Sucks Now, so sucks with an X, but it's a good read. It's a long read. It took me about 45 minutes, and it was in italics, so I still have vertigo from it, but
I have vertigo from something else.
yeah, Club
Club
'08.
Club '08,
Um,
man.
it's definitely speaks to a generation thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm with you with that one. Um, and yeah, I definitely, like you, advertise and tell tell our listeners, once again, the three of them, to go check that out. It's interesting, and like I said, if it's true, I feel bad for that guy, but that's life, unfortunately. So segueing into a much more happy thing, and the final thing that we'll touch on tonight is what's going to be happening for us tomorrow, which is a snow day. We get to sit on our couches and work remotely and do all that fun stuff. So, but more so, what I wanted to touch on was compared to snow day compared to as a child and in high school and in college to essentially what it's like now in the quote unquote real world. Obviously, I think there's some huge differences in there. As a child, I remember, in child, I can you use loosely whether I was 9 or 14 or 15, whatever. But when the internet was around, I would wake up, log on to this website, which I can't remember the name. I'd search for, my school district to see if I had a 2-hour delay or a snow day, which those few seconds that the page loaded were like, it felt like the existence of the earth. It felt like forever. So, you either went into a completely great, phenomenal mood or to a completely pissy mood. And I just feel like those results were just completely on the opposite end of the spectrum. I mean, like I said, being happy that, hey, I get to jerk around, play video games, sports center, movies, backyard football, meet up with friends, go sleigh riding, or hey, I got to be in school from 7:45 to 2:30 or 2:20 or whatever it was. The mix of emotions at that age were just, it was unbelievable. Whereas now, I feel like there's only a couple of differences, but I think they're really big, and they actually lean a little bit more toward the positive side. Number one, sweatpants and shorts. I don't have to get ready. I could look like a complete slob if I want to. Brushing the teeth is optional. um, have a solid breakfast. Like I said, tomorrow I feel like making French toast, but I realized I didn't go get the appropriate bread for that, so that's not happening. Um,
Oh,
all day television, TV's going to be on, movies, whatever. Um, this is a big one for me too. You don't have to see people you don't want to or you don't like, which is just probably makes my day just in itself.
you're still talking to me, dickhead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Um, but and then the last thing, before I touch on the ultimate best thing about not having to go into work, is I get to lounge with the cats here, which always put a smile on my face, even though I sometimes get pissed off at them when they annoy me while I'm podcasting, like right now. But most importantly, the big silver tuna, as Marv would put it, the animals that you have to commute with, and I'm not talking about animals like cats and dogs. I'm talking about the animals as people that you actually have to commute with and sit next to and get breathed on and get coughed on. You don't have to see those people. I mean, the shit that you see on some of those train rides and bus rides are just like no other. And I know you can obviously speak to it. Everybody that gets themselves together every day to go into the city sees it. So just staying home, like even though I sometimes feel a little bit less productive thanks to all those comfortable, distractions. I don't know. I like I said, I could talk about this for such a long time. I mean, snow days to me are like one of the greatest things ever.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a huge, huge disparity between, being a kid versus being an adult with a snow day. And you touched on it before, like, whenever it snowed, I was throwing a football around, and, you were going to play in the backyard, you were going to go sleigh riding, you were pegging people with snowballs. And one of the things I remember being a kid, that was the funniest thing, and my mom still does it till this day for herself, is she put plastic bags on me and my brother's feet for some reason because she didn't want us to get frostbitten. Bitten? Biting? I don't know fucking know.
Frost. You could just say frostbite, probably. That
Frostbite. Yeah. I don't know if it's a plural, but yeah, it was definitely the best time. Like when there was an impending storm about to hit your area, and there was a possibility of not going to school, you would put your pajamas on backwards or whatever that myth was. But anything you would do to not go to school and not have to sit with that one school teacher for 8 hours was the best prospect of all time.
Yeah. There's really, like you said, there's nothing like, I mean, maybe that last day of class right before summer or something like that, but
Right.
I don't know. There's just something about like, wow, like we might not have school tomorrow. Like, and like if it obviously happened on a Friday or Monday, that was the best. But I feel like
But
it would always fucking snow on like a Saturday or a Sunday, like 8 feet, and then you'd have to go to school. There'd be like a 2-hour delay on Monday, and they'd be like, all right, put your Timberland boots on and your jackets and, go outside, and, you'd have to go to school. But, that when you get that day, oh man, it just totally like it revives you almost.
and we didn't and the biggest blue balls here. The biggest blue balls here is the
Yeah.
2-hour delay.
Oh, the 2-hour delay.
Why? I just want to know why and the logic behind it. Like,
I mean, I
what is 2 hours going to do?
the
2 hours, 2 hours. Like, you're gonna salt all the roads in the county. You're gonna plow all the roads in the county. I still, till this day, do not understand the 2-hour delay.
Do you know the good thing about that and I had like a semi decent relationship with our superintendent, Dr. Antonecchia. He was just such a cool dude.
Yeah, no government names. Come on, bro.
No government names. He was a cool dude, and he told me why because we actually had a decent amount of 2-hour delays, but it counts still as a regular school day. If you have too many snow days or days off or whatever, they take away from all your other breaks. So it takes away from your December break, it takes away from your February break, it takes away from your spring break, takes away from Memorial Day
Spring break.
weekend. Spring break.
Spring break.
It takes away from those. So to roll over and not have to get up at 6:45, 7 o'clock in the morning, is a little bit better. But you're obviously rooting for that full day. Just you don't have to, like you said, you go in, there's always at least that one teacher that you're like, dude, if I see you right now, like it's not gonna, like nothing good is going to come out of this encounter.
Yeah, no, for sure. I obviously, that makes a lot of sense in terms of like the calendar days and the breaks that you're going to get, and I guess there's some minimum requirement in terms of how many school days you have to, be at school, obviously. But to the point that you touched on before, the adult commute,
Yeah,
the everyday adult commute.
it's the most draining thing, I think.
It
I mean, at
is
least that I've
awful.
ever encountered.
It is awful. And you know what? I'm spoiled because I take a bus. I have a seat every day.
Yeah, yeah,
Being stuck on a train, or like you said before, as we opened the podcast, being stuck like a sardine face to face with someone breathing on you, is honestly the most worst, depressing thing on earth. Like, get away from me, do not touch me, do not breathe on me. You feel, like you said before, claustrophobic, like you do not want to be next to people. And like those close encounters, really, that's like the crux of it. Like, you do not, like, that's the most hard pressing thing of getting to work and leaving work.
yes. Something always happens too. It's inevitable. I mean, even just today, I didn't even touch on it because it just rang a bell. So there's normally, when I go home, I hop on the train and then I transfer to a bus. But the bus ride is literally only 2 to 5 minutes. But today it was about 30 to 40 minutes, given the snow and how many people were rushing to get home. And I don't know what happened on the bus. I didn't see it, but I just heard an altercation over my headphones. So then I lowered the volume to whatever I was listening to, and I turned around, and it was some lady yelling at some guy, "Don't push me, you idiot!" Like, handling things in a much better manner than I
Yeah, I
probably
mean, there's
would.
always going to be scum. There's always going to be scumbags on the.
Oh yeah, always. And I mean, everybody's obviously frustrated and wanting to get home earlier today with the weather, and it's amplified a little bit. But I mean, those things happen on a consistent basis. You see people make faces, and I mean, I'm guilty of this too. I like, obviously, my space. I don't want to be sitting next to all these creeps and weirdos. But when you want to sit next, there's always, so how the train is. I don't know how the path is, but in Metro North, there's 3 seats on one side, and and the whole row of them, and then 2 seats on the other. It's almost like a rule to not take that middle seat on the 3 seat side, and then when people ask to do it, you think they were asking them for like your right kidney. You thought they were making like all these arrangements, and going out of their way to do it. I don't know. It's way too much. And like just to summarize this, essentially, it's such a nice thing to not have to do it for one day, to get that extra day in there. Our weekends are so short, and to be able to stay home tomorrow and not have to worry about that is really just, it's a weight lifted off my shoulders, as is everybody else's shoulders. And
Yeah, so Juno again struck up in the past minute.
okay.
So I heard nothing but Arabic out of your mouth.
Oh, excellent. I didn't know I learned that.
So yeah, no, it was pretty awesome.
I mean, to essentially
all I heard was all
summarize
I
what
heard was
you said
all I
was
heard was R2D2.
um,
Pretty much.
that was
So,
that was my
hey, thanks Google again, because you guys helped me out through every day of my life.
yeah.
Um,
DFP.
DSM.
Oh,
Um,
well, what my associate was trying to say was, no, what I was saying, essentially, to wrap it up really quickly, was it's just going to be so nice to get that extra day in addition to the weekend that we just had. Our weekends are so short, so to get that extra day, to not have to, see all these people that you don't like at work or to ride on the train is really just it's just a mood booster. Like I know I don't have a bedtime tonight, whereas on
Right.
a
Right.
normal school night, I like to be in bed by like 10:30. I know I sound like an ancient, mummy or whatever by saying that, but it's the truth. I like to go to bed early. I get up at 7, so to get that 8 hours or so is clutch. But I know tonight I just stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning because I know I'm not going anywhere other than my couch.
Absolutely, dude. I totally agree with you on that one because I'm in the same mindset, and I'm probably gonna just binge watch movies and hang out, drink a lot of vino. And yeah, it's definitely rejuvenating, and not being on a schedule, not being on your normal day to day, it's definitely something that like, comes at a surprise, and it's just again something you can't predict, but for sure, I'm totally on the same page with you.
Yeah, as always. Um, Well, that about does it. So, again, thank you to everybody who's listening. We really do appreciate it, whoever actually does. um, and we're trying to keep this going on a consistent basis. We like to churn out at least one of these a week. So, if you're enjoying it, then great. If not, then change the channel. Um, but with that
Ciao.
said, hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Hope the snow doesn't kill you, and enjoy the rest of the week. Enjoy Super Bowl Sunday, and we'll definitely get together next week and do an episode to talk about the Super Bowl for sure. Mike. All right, Juno's acting up again. So for
Later.
Mike, I'll turn it.
Later.
I'll end it here. All right, take care, everyone. Thanks for listening.